Welcome to Film Dialogue on Horizon TV, a new movie program that brings you award-winning cinema from around the world, including the films by Armenian filmmakers, directors, writers, and actors. My name is Alex Kalognomos, and I'm the director of ARPA International Film Festival, which this year celebrates its 15th anniversary of bringing Armenian and international cinema to Los Angeles. Tonight's feature presentation is Venezia, a 2009 film that had its world premiere at ARPA International Film Festival and is directed by Haik Gazarian, a Venezuelan Armenian filmmaker who will be joining us shortly. Venezia is a 2009 Venezuelan film that takes place during World War II and focuses on a love story played by two of Latin America's greatest actors, Ruddy Rodríguez and Alfonso Herrera. The film has swept the international film community, appearing in over 40 festivals around the world, and it's still in movie theaters in South America. So we're so lucky to have it here on Horizon TV and to share it with you. So please stay with us, and in just a minute we'll be joined by the director, Haik Gazarian.
Venecia. Tú crees en las segundas oportunidades.
Venezia was one of the best films and one of the biggest events we had at ARPA Film Festival in 2009. It was a world premiere, and it was the opening night film, and the cast and crew and fans from all over the world came to support the film's filmmaker, director Haik Gazarian, who joins us here today. Haik, welcome.
Thank you for having me here, Alex.
Welcome to Horizon, and for sharing your film with Horizon's audiences. We're honored that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here in this program and this network, this station, to be able to provide my experience with Venezia.
That's right. That's right. And you just came back from Colombia, is that right? You
Yes.
were working there?
Yes, we were scouting some locations for TV commercial, but that's another story. Yeah.
Well, tell us, how did Venezia come to be?
Venezia is it's a love story, and I'm a fanatic of all love dramas and love films, from the bridges of Madison County to Casablanca and everything in between. So for me, to be my first film after I came out of film school, I wanted to really come up with an idea of bringing a story surrounded by these events that happened during World War II in the Caribbean. So, so basically, I said to myself, well, I wanted to do this, this unique film, and I wanted to frame it around the Caribbean, and that's how Venezia came into life.
And it is based on an actual story, real people.
Yeah, my father, since I was a little kid, told me stories about World War II, and I grew up with that, you know, either the Asian or European scenario. So when I was in film school in New York, you know, it was natural for me to learn about what happened during those periods of 1942, 1945 in Latin America, especially in the Caribbean. And while I was there in exile, let's say, if we're going to film school, I say, well, this is an interesting story. This is a different angle that nobody has told about. So going back into a love drama, I discover these characters and these events and how important was the region. And I say, well, somebody has to tell this story. So I said, well, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to build a story around this.
So in building the framework of the story, how did you find your team? I know that many of the people from the production were long-term collaborators, from the producers, the executive producers, who are now incredible stars in their own right. Edgar Ramirez.
Yeah, well, for Venezia was written, the character of Venezia, this woman, I built her around to do it with Ruddy Rodríguez, which I managed her career for almost 22 years.
That's right.
So being as a manager, I got to know her a lot. So I said, well, this is one character I wanted to really build up from the ground up. And that's how Ruddy came into place, a natural partner.
Right.
Then right after that,
she's one of the most beautiful actresses ever, and I think she gives a stellar performance. I mean, the fans at the film festival that night were they were crying. They were so moved.
She did an amazing job,
Yeah.
and it's Venezia. Her character really goes out of the screen and jumps into the audience. It's really amazing. Because it was a difficult role. But Edgar Ramirez came into Venezia because basically we wanted him to be in place. This is after he did Bourne Ultimatum, and then he did Vantage Point, and he was about to do Carlos, the miniseries that he did for France and for the Sundance Channel. And then in that process, that is showing the script, and then he really loved the project. He came into place. Then Desmond Child also, through our mutual friend that we have, Demi Ohanian, introduced me to Desmond, and I had this wonderful meeting with Desmond. He was producing Bon Jovi at that point, and I met with him, and we were all together, and then I said, well, this is the script, and then he read it and he said, Haik, I need to tell you this, my mother has a story more or less like Venezia. She fell in love with an American agent while she was living in Maracaibo, Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela, around that period. So he came into place, he loved the project, and Desmond was the musical supervisor of Venezia.
That's right.
And then that's how we build up the team, that really helped to make this epic drama.
So the film is a Venezuelan production, and you being Armenian, from Venezuela. What Mamet Dianan Shatrachini.
I don't know mamas and Danyokos, Quirigas.
Urema, what's it like being an Armenian from Venezuela? And then you kind of did things backwards. You went to film school after you had a career and were an established professional.
Well, like all Armenians around the world are very united.
Yes.
In the case of Venezuela Herrera, the Armenians from Venezuela, is a very unique case because here we are in this tropical setting with these Armenians that came 50 years ago to expect to have a better life, and they got very united. So I was in the Armenian community, since I was a little kid, the filmmaker, I remember coming here in the 60s or 70s with my Super 8 or 60mm camera, interviewing Manuel and Adis and all that, and taking those interviews back to Venezuela to show them to the Armenian community. So they were expecting to see films from me on interviews or jobs, So that helped me also to showcase my work in a theater, and that theater was the Armenian Center in Caracas, in Venezuela. So I grew up, and Armenians knew that sooner or later I was going to become a film director.
That's right. Was there any support at that point for a young Armenian filmmaker in Venezuela? Not at all.
Not at all. Throughout the time, the Ministry of Culture enhanced a program that helped Armenians. I had this story that basically everybody that I was telling about, told me, tu gentes, as filme hedge stupidness. So maybe, it was, I don't want to point out members of my family, but they were telling me, as filme, tun urish kors urish the same song. So I said, well, this is the story I want to do. It takes a lot of money. And then I know throughout people that I found out, everybody, I started to passionate and put people into this passion of this story. And one thing led to another. But the really important thing that happened was that there was a contest in Venezuela that you could submit your project. And I submitted the script. And for first-time directors, you were able to really get a grant to do this film. And out of 85 submissions that year, they pre-selected 21, and then after that, they selected 4. So I was one of those 4. Wow. So I got a good amount of money that helped me to make Venezia. Otherwise, it would not be possible.
And in talking about the opportunities that a film festival can give independent film, I think I counted something like 35 film festivals. It's probably more. But this film is like a passport for you.
To date, last week it was in Copenhagen on a film festival there. So far we have 44 film festivals since its premiere in 2009. 2010, I practically spent the whole year touring with the film around the world in all these film festivals, and we were blessed to have so far until now 22 awards.
We're very lucky to have this film on Horizon because people have been wanting to see this film here in the States. It's still actually in the movie theaters in South America, is that right?
Yeah, it's now in the movie theaters in Ecuador. Sony Pictures got it and is releasing it in countries and in small releases. But it's great because it's like it's a new experience. Every country has its own flavor, but I'm very happy with the results.
Can you tell us a little bit what it's like shooting a period piece? The film takes place in 1942.
Yes.
Pulling together all the elements that it takes to make a film that looks like it's World War II.
Yeah, any period piece, first of all, to do any film anywhere in any part of the world is a gargantuan task. Anybody that says the opposite is lying, is not true.
A film is like a passport, especially in the film festival world. That film can take you all around the world. I don't know, how many festivals have you been in at this point?
So far, out of the 43 that the movie has been screened around the world, I've been around 22.
22, that's amazing.
I spent almost the whole 2010 because it's my first film, and always it gives you a lot of satisfaction to see the reaction on the different cultures and different people. So I really made an effort to make sure that I could go as much as festivals as I can. I couldn't go to all of them, but because it's still playing in film festival. Last week was in Copenhagen, and the film festival there. And the week before was in Hanoi, in Vietnam, and a month and a half before that it was in Berlin. So
And it, of course, played in Hayastan's Golden Apricot Film Festival. What was that experience like? How did that work for you?
Unforgettable. I never forget this image of being at the door of the movie theater, and when I saw people leaving, and ladies and children and people from all ages, and there were some Armenian ladies that they didn't know English, Spanish, nothing, just Armenian. So they were crying and they were hugging me. But she Gudaingor and said, "Shat merci, shonarvur tyungun Gudaingor so shadurahe aniga shat in sirdis kanats."
Kanyan kamete.
Hingan kam chutin, and the Golden Film Festival, Golden Apricot Film Festival.
Do you remember which theater, Kino?
It was in the Moscow theater.
Kino Moscow.
Yeah, in Moscow.
Wow.
And then one
amazing.
screening. Yeah, one screening was outdoors. It was the first time that Golden Apricot was doing a massive outdoor screening.
Wow.
at the Lovers Park, and it was an amphitheater, and there's a picture about that.
What are your roots? Tell us about how your family ended up in Venezuela.
Yes. My dad is Armenian from Greece. My mother is from Istanbul, but from Armenian. So basically what happened right after the war, my family, my grandfather, Krikor, and my father, Barujan, and my uncles, Gazarian and Arakel, they were looking for a place to make a new life, because Greece was not in a good situation like the rest of Europe right after the war. So they, from a cousin that was living in Argentina, they said, you need to come to Argentina. The conditions here are amazing. This is a place there's a big Armenian community. So on the way to Argentina, they stop over Caracas in Venezuela. So while they were there, they met with other Armenians that were there, the Sarikians, and then they were talking about the conditions of living in Venezuela. And they were going, one day, this is a classic story, that my grandfather goes to the market and he gets a melon, no? And he asks, how much is this melon? And then they said, well, this is $4. It was extremely expensive. And he was selling. And so my dad turned to my father and my uncles and said, we're gonna stay here, because if people can buy this melon for $4, there's a business opportunity here. So everything changed completely. Wow. And so they went into commerce, and they got department stores. Then my father, my uncles, they all got married with an Armenian woman, and then my father was single. Oh. So there's a story about my grandfather giving to my aunt a bunch of money like this. I said, "Kana yakpairit yev avor hagagan ginik me pandre." So they went into this curse around the world to find
the perfect Armenian wife.
The Armenian wife for my father. So
wow.
they sent telegraphs to all the cousins and relatives around the world, and they spent 2 months
That's
traveling.
A movie. That is a movie.
Yeah, I know. Orbe Vidinemas film. So finally, they arrived in Lugano. At that time, my mother's family was living in Lugano. So Lugano Hassan, Yev telefon patsin mensajrigis, sin mek surgigu kankor. So my father and my mother arrived. So there's my mother, 16-year-old girl. This is the 60s, okay? So as soon as my father saw my mother serving the coffee, he fell in love with her. And then a week later, they got married.
Oh, that's beautiful. Where was she from?
She was born in Istanbul, but when she was a little kid, the whole family moved to Lugano.
Ah, I see.
So that's...
These are Armenian diasporan stories. Each one of them is amazing.
It's amazing. Armenians are, very, very unique in that, and Mer Haigagan Airuno, Shadzorabor.
That's right.
And united, I grew up in an Armenian community as one Armenian, nothing else.
That's right.
One group of Armenians, solid. We built up the church. We built up the Armenian center. We built up the Armenian Saturday school.
That's right.
And and the funny thing is that it doesn't have to be from Armenia to one country. There's a very interesting case that is happening now, that because of the situation now in Venezuela, a lot of Armenians left Venezuela, and now they came, for example, here to Los Angeles. So now there is an Armenian community of Venezuelans in Los Angeles. It's called CAVLA, which is Comunidad Armenia Venezolana Los Angeles. Armenian community, Venezuelan Armenian community Los Angeles.
Oh my God.
So it's a group.
Amazing.
It's a group here in Los Angeles of Armenians from Venezuela, and they have activities. They do centers.
That's right. It's the best thing that Armenians are at, is our community centers and what we do at the churches, and
totally.
What we do.
And they're doing activities because that's what they used to do. Yeah. The Karognangor and United Grupo. So Uremanas Grupo, they formed this group, and that's what they're doing. If any of the Armenians are watching this show, if you want to have a great time with our spicy Latino Armenians, check out CAVLA at Facebook. They have activities every so often.
The Armenians from Latin America are the most fun. The parties are the best, and the spirit is the best. But you were telling me that when you were a kid, though, your family used to send you to Armenian camp
Yes.
on the East Coast.
Այո։ Առաջ, բայց առաջ ես հայական դուբրոց կացի, ամեն շաբաթ Caracas։
Caracas. Dubroci anune ինչ է։
Դուբրոց
Hishim եք? Because I went to Armenian school too.
Yeah. No, հայական it was Armenian school. No, anun չէ St. Gregory.
St. Gregory.
Yeah, St. Gregory. The luminary, yes. So, and it was next to the Armenian church. That was when I was a little kid, until I was like 7, 8. Then I started to go Amarnera Gugartaigor Camp Nubar. I went first to Camp St. Gregory in Massachusetts with Father Luke. So anybody that knows Camp St. Gregory, Father Luke was an icon. And then Katsi Yerek Chorzari Katsi Camp Nubar in Catskills. Yes.
And you know, the culture, the Armenian culture is so strong. It could have just as easily, I think, been lost, you know, with moving from your family from Greece and then to Venezuela and then, but it's so strong in you, and I think that's an incredible thing.
Because
Շատ կարևոր է։
Շատ կարևոր է որ շարունակենք, because it's like you always have to remember your roots. So I mean, Babas and that group of Armenians in Venezuela that decided to build Armenian church, it was a very important step, and then build up the Armenian school for Saturday school. And so պետք է միշտ շարունակե եւ հեչ չէ պետք է մոռնանք ինչ որ անցավ in the past.
That's right.
That's very important too.
Through the work we do at the film festivals, like for example, ARPA Film Festival, it's a Armenian film festival, but it has ամեն տարի 25 տարբեր երգինք participating. There's 25 different nations because they're all filmmakers from the diaspora who are participating. I don't know of any other culture who can.
It's very unique. It's a very unique experience. I never forget in Buenos Aires, and everybody that's been to Buenos Aires, one of the most unique tourist attractions in Buenos Aires is the Armenian Center. And guess why?
Why?
It has the best tangeria, which is the best place to go and tango. It's at the Armenian Center. You go to the hotels, Marriott, Hilton, and everything. And in the Where magazine, it says the places to go is to the Armenian Center, which is right across the street from the Armenian church. Between 1 in the morning and 4 in the morning on the weekends, you go tango.
And that's amazing. That's amazing because here in Hollywood, in West Hollywood, we have a restaurant called Carlitos Gardel, which is an Argentinian restaurant.
Yeah, of course, yes.
And it's owned by an Armenian family. And whenever you go there, not only is the food excellent, but the tango music that they play there, and sometimes you get to see dancing. It's incredible.
No. Alex, this is a place the size of this theater.
Oh, I see.
And I never forget the visual. It's in the basement, you know, because you have the dance hall and the Armenian Center is Getrono, you know. So I walked in at 1:30 in the morning. I was shooting a project there, and then after we finished shooting, we say, let's go and check it out. 1:30 in the morning, there were around 120, 200 couples dancing tango, and people from everywhere in the Armenian Center. That was unique.
So tell us about the Latino audience for this film.
It has between Ruddy and Alfonso. What happened with Alfonso? He used to belong to a group. It was called RBD. This was a huge sensation in Latin America, sort of like Menudo was in the time, but RBD was a big sensation. So
like pop music, Latin
pop music, like Backstreet Boys, but mixed, 3 girls, 3 boys. Alfonso was one of them. So his fans are massive in Latin America, in Brazil, in all the countries in Latin America, and here in the U.S., in all the Hispanic community. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of Hispanics watching this show, because most likely Alfonso did tweet about...
we have to put it on Facebook and Twitter and let them come to Horizon.
About this show. I'm going to tell them when the time comes, because a lot of fans, Latino, Hispanic fans, did not see this film at the ARPA Film Festival.
That's right.
Because there was no seats, or it
was sold out. That was a sold out event.
So it's great. So for those Hispanics that are watching this show, les dedico esta película, y de parte de Alfonso, que puedan apreciarla, es para mí, me da un honor y me alegra mucho que puedan verlo.
Now, any final thoughts about the film from the director's standpoint? Anything that you'd like to share about the film? I know we didn't get a chance to talk about, actually let me take it back to making a period film set in 1942. What are some of the challenges in 2012 making a film from 60 years ago?
Well,
is that 60 years? Yeah.
There's to make any film is a huge challenge. Like I said, it's a gargantuan task. Any film, any production. As a director, you're very passionate about the work that you do, and you put your heart and soul into it, and it's a team effort, you know. So my advice to all the artists, first of all, is to be very true to your passions. Don't fool yourself and go after the real deal. And also, in this time and age, open up for people, communicate well your ideas and your thoughts. It is very important to send a message across so everybody understands it, because at the end it's a collaborative effort. Filmmaking is a big family, so you need to send your message and set it up straight and communicate well. So anything that you can do to work out in that direction is always well received. So my message is that open up and communicate well.
Thank you so much for being here. We're honored to screen your masterpiece of a film,
No,
Venezia.
thank you.
One of the most epic love stories, a period piece set in 1942. Now enjoy Venezia.